All right guys, an hour and a half in, running at full speed. Sorry about the wind. And put a pin through it. And that's it guys. My motor is on my kayak. Is this the best motor and price for your kayak needs? One good thing, small in my hands. I'm used to that anyway. So one really cool thing, because I'm running my motors on a NuCanoe Unlimited, they have their foot control quick connect setup. What is nice about it is that between the Torqeedo and the Newport, all I have to do is just mount the NuCanoe part to the shaft of the motors, stays on there all the time, and put a pin through it. And that's it guys. My motor is on my kayak. Torqeedo, Newport, it's simple as that. I love it. All right guys, we're out here on the water, and I purposely did not bring any fishing gear just because with my ADHD I'd want to start fishing and they'll take care of the video, but I wanted this video to be solely about this motor, doing testing with it, top speed, longevity of the battery throughout the day. We are going to basically run this, and I'm not going to take you guys through 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is of testing, but I'm going to run this for like half, 3/4 the full throttle and see how long it lasts me. Now the website says at full throttle with the battery I have, the 24 volt 50 amp hour Newport battery, it should last for about an hour and a half. That's pretty damn good at full throttle with a little tiny motor. This motor is 1.8 horsepower equivalent, and the thing is super light. See, I'm spoiled, and I'm not gonna let that sway my opinions completely on this motor, but I started out with a Torqeedo, and I've been with the Torqeedo since I've motorized my kayaks. And I bought this motor for my wife. I knew it wasn't gonna be my primary motor for myself. All the time I've been on the water with this already, I've spent about 40 hours with this. I am super impressed, and I apologize for any wind you guys hear because it is gonna be windy today. That's why it was a good day to do it, because I'm out fishing, so I don't have to really worry about, you know, keeping myself positioned. But we have no fishing gear on here, but I have everything else. The only gear I'm really missing is my fishing poles. I usually fish with about 5 to 6 fishing poles. My reels are 5 ounces, my rods are about 5 ounces, so 10 ounces plus the line and lure. We're gonna be heavy on it. We're gonna say each pole weighs a pound, so 5 to 6 poles. I'm missing 6 pounds of poles, and I'm missing some track packs, but I got all my soft plastics still in my Black Pack Pro. You can see I got my setup here. This is my fully rigged setup, and I don't have my anchor on here, which is about 3 pounds. So let's be nice about all this and be heavy with it. I've tested it with everything on here before, but we're gonna say we're missing about 15 pounds of gear today. I weigh 210 pounds currently. Let's see how this goes. Let's run this. Let's test this. You can see I have the foot control, steering from NuCanoe, and let's get into this video. Also, I got full battery, fully charged. You can see this will give me my throttle, how much I got the throttle putting forward, the percentage, and the watts on this. And the max watts, oh, can't even talk today. The max watts on this is 600, and then this is your throttle readout. This is your battery readout, how many like bars you have left, and then your voltage readout. I'm gonna use my speed based off my GPS on my Garmin. So it is hard to get this thing really at exactly 50% on the throttle, but we're at 51. You can see that hopefully. And going into the wind, we are getting 2.7 miles per hour at half throttle. So we're gonna let this run at half throttle for a little bit while I talk to you guys. We'll kind of just cruise around here a bit. But here is my pros about this motor. Coming from the Torqeedo, and like I said, I don't want this to be a comparison video, but coming from the Torqeedo, I have a good comparison, but a lot of the pros of this motor is it's super light. So when I'm running at full throttle, I don't have the boat really digging in and really putting the nose up. It's running almost flat. Now when I have my Torqeedo full throttle, there's so much power there. Also like the NK300 would be, you have so much power, it's pushing the nose of your kayak up because it's almost trying to get on plane, right? So this thing runs perfectly level with it being as light as the motor is on the back. It's also keeping my kayak lighter. It's also easier to transport around, whether you're dragging it or on wheels or launching it, because it is so much lighter. It's like you're throwing on like a little toy, it almost feels like. And you know, you guys know I've had the Bixby in the past, which is even a smaller motor, but the Bixby on my NuCanoe fully rigged, the max speed on the Bixby was only like, I think 3.5 miles per hour. And that battery at full throttle, they said 80 minutes. I think I got maybe an hour out of it when I was doing some testing, not on video, but just doing some testing on my own. But I never killed that battery. And another pro You know what? I'm actually gonna go on the backside, guys, and get away from this wind so it's not so bad for you. It should be a little better now out of the wind. Let's get all these things out of the way before I really do the testing and have this out in the wind with you guys. But another huge pro to this setup is that you can use any 24-volt battery. It doesn't have to be the Newport battery. It doesn't have to be a lithium battery. It doesn't have to be a brand battery from Newport. It could be Dakota Lithium. It could be whoever. There's so many battery companies out there now. They hit me up all the time. Oh, do you want to try our battery? But there's so many battery companies out there now that make lithium batteries. And I would still do a lithium battery just because they're lighter. But you can use any battery with your setup. You can just buy the motor by itself and put your own 24-volt motor with the system. Like the Torqeedo, it's a proprietary battery, so you're stuck with their batteries. Not saying it's a bad thing because it's GPS tracked and all that stuff, but you're stuck with their battery. Another good thing too is that you can get decent lithium batteries for a good price point. So you can carry a couple batteries with you. So if one battery doesn't, you know, provide you enough coverage, just carry 2 batteries with you. Make room for it on your kayak and strap it down, and you can just do switch out later like I do with my Torqeedo. My Torqeedo 1103, I carry 2 batteries. There's sometimes I say, shoot, when I'm covering a lot of water, I could use almost 3 batteries. Look at Drew Gregory. When that guy fishes tournaments and covers a ton of water, that guy carries as many batteries as he owns, can borrow and throw on his kayak. So that guy carries a lot of batteries. So none of these kayak motors are gonna give you full speed all day coverage. But you gotta think, when you go to a spot to fish, like right now I'm creeping up, I would just kick the motor off and fish where I want to fish and then move to the next spot, whether it's just, you know, down the ways there like 100 yards, or I'm gonna do, you know, a 5-mile venture and I want to get there as quick as possible. Then I am gonna probably run pretty much full throttle. But you gotta keep in mind, every time you go from spot to spot and you're moving a lot during a tournament and you're going full throttle, you are gonna kill your battery no matter what motor brand you're using, whether even if it's a, you know, motor guide up front. So just keep that in mind. But most of us have an area to fish that we want to fish in a kayak because obviously we don't cover as much water as we do on a boat. So we kind of have a general idea where we want to fish. So we kind of motor there, and then we use these motors as basically trolling motors. So you're only running like a little bit like this, you know, and just kind of going up the bank slowly and doing your fishing. So the battery is going to last you. This battery will last you all day with one battery. I fished it already all day, numerous times, full 8-hour to 10-hour days, just using the one battery because I know the range and I know where I'm going to fish. I'm not going to be doing full throttle all day. Another pro over any other motor on the market for the NK180 is the price point. The motor itself is $1,000, and depending if you get their battery or whatever, that changes the price. But overall, you can get a full setup, motor, throttle, and a Newport battery for, I think, was it $16.99 right now, if I'm not mistaken? So $1,700 gets you a great motor. I love this motor. There's one particular item that keeps me from using this full time. I'm gonna be using this motor quite a bit myself, just because it's lightweight, it keeps the kayak lighter, but it's a cheaper price point. You know, the NK300 is not that much more. I think overall, with a 36-volt battery, I think the NK300, don't hold me to it, is maybe like $2,300 or so. So it's like a $400 to $500 difference. Now, is it worth it to go up to the NK300 over the NK180? That's solely on you. If you have a heavy kayak and you like to go fast as you possibly can and get from point A to point B, then you might have to consider that. But this motor, I am super impressed with the top speed of that, and we're going to get into this, and I like it a lot, guys. The price point of this motor is phenomenal. You know, the Bixby is, I think, I don't know what they're running now, maybe $1,400, and not saying it's bad, and they made a bigger battery and stuff, but it's not the best choice for kayak fishermen. It gets the job done, guys. Not saying it doesn't, but it's more of a paddle sport, more of a hobbyist type of motor. I would choose this over the Bixby any day. I would choose the NK180 over any other smaller motor on the market. Now the cons, and I can only compare this to the Torqeedo, but the only cons, and it's nothing that you can't adapt, and especially if this is your first motor, it's a great choice, guys. But going from the Torqeedo to the NK180 or even the NK300, the throttle response is slower. See how I push that forward? Hopefully you guys are seeing that. I push that forward, it's not doing nothing, now it's doing something. So there's a throttle lag, but it's nothing that you can't adjust to. So you just gotta keep that in mind, that if you need to get out of the way in a hurry and you go full throttle, see, there's a lag. Now we're moving. The Torqeedo is an instant response, but once again, that's not a huge ordeal. Even for me, I've adapted to it all the times I fish, not a big deal. It may be a good thing too, because then you're not full throttling and kind of getting caught off guard. So maybe it's a safety thing with them, or maybe it's just the way their motor is, their drive is, you know. But that's just one con coming from the Torqeedo. But like I said, if it's your first motor, it's really not a con. All right, now here is my biggest gripe. And now that all these motors are pretty much brushless, you know, when we had the brushed motors, they would whine. They were loud. My Bixby was pretty loud, guys. And I think that was a brushless motor if I wasn't mistaken, but it was loud. Maybe because it was a small propeller, but it whined. And this one is the improved one from the old one, but just going at a little bit of throttle here, you're probably not gonna be able to catch it on the video. See right there? Hopefully you guys are catching that audio. You hear that? It's a hum. It's pretty loud. So my only concern when I'm fishing tournaments over having the Torqeedo is like dead silent, guys. If I just go a little bit like this with a Torqeedo, I don't hear it. But this one here, hopefully you guys can hear that. There is a hum. And my concern is that the fish are definitely gonna hear that. You know, when I'm trying to creep up on a spot, one thing you could do, and you know fish can feel that vibration from a long ways away. I guess you can shut this motor off way before you get to your spot, and that's what I recommend, and just kind of coast in or paddle in as quietly as you can. So that's my biggest gripe. That's why I wouldn't use this motor as a tournament motor for myself. But once again, not a big deal, especially if you just do this for fun and you just know what you're gonna be getting into. And of course we got a fire truck coming. I'm gonna stop the video, let him pass, guys. They kind of passed. You may hear some sirens still in the background, but it's not a huge deal that this motor is a little bit louder than my Torqeedo. At like 40% though, it's a lot louder. Like I've said, if this is your first motor, not a big deal. I love this motor, guys. Don't get me wrong. This is a great secondary motor for me. If it's your primary first motor, for the price, the top speed I'm getting with this, the range is phenomenal, guys. So just keep that in mind that it's not a bad motor. I'm not bashing this motor in this video comparing it to my Torqeedo, but yes, the Torqeedo is a little bit quieter. It may be better engineered. I don't know all the complete internals of it. I've heard some things that the Torqeedo is all stainless steel components on the inside and the Newport vessels are not, so longevity and saltwater use may be an issue. I'm not sure if that's accurate anymore. They may have changed it, and I'm sure over time Newport Vessel is going to upgrade their motors. And my thing is, I hope they do, because when my Torqeedo goes bye-bye and I finally break it after however so long, I'm hoping the NK300 is improved over what it is now with the quietness, the throttle response. I know the NK300 is a little bit faster than my Torqeedo because it's a little bit higher wattage output, but I already had the Torqeedo, so I'm not going to go just, you know, throw a motor away basically to get the NK300 just because it's a little bit faster. Really, top speed is not my super primary concern. My primary concern is quality, longevity of the batteries, and having some features with the Torqeedo over the Newport Vessel motors. The new Torqeedo motor with the color digital readout is nice. The bigger battery is nice. The way it connects is a little bit nicer. But Newport Vessel is still a great option, guys. It's still one of my, I just love having it. Having anything motorized on a kayak is great. I will give this thing a 10 times thumbs up over the Bixby that I've had in the past. And I know the Torqeedo 403, they used to be loud and they improved theirs too as well, but I never had the 403, you know, in hand. I went this route with the Newport Vessel because it's a cheaper option. It's going to be my wife's motor when we all three of us go out together, so she'll be on the other kayak, or she'll probably be on this kayak using this, and I'll be on my other New Canoe Unlimited with my son until he's old enough to be on his own. Then once he's on his own, which is going to be a couple more years yet, I'm hoping I can get him a Newport Vessel 300, you know, an NK300. But if they don't improve the sound and the throttle response, it's going to be kind of iffy. But for the price point, I think I'm probably end up getting my son a Newport Vessel in the future. So I'm going to start running this around now. I'm going to run it at half throttle for about a half an hour, and I want to see where the battery voltage is and the bars are left on the battery. You know, right now I still have full bars. It kind of just slowly rebounds as I use it. It goes down to 3, then it slowly works its way back up to 4 bars. Right now this show 4 bars, but I'm going to do half an hour run at full throttle. I'm not going to bore you guys with that, and then I'm going to do the rest of the video. Once again, I won't bore you guys with that. I'll just show some little snippets there of me running full throttle, and I want to see how long this battery lasts. So right now it is 10:56, so I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. You can see there I got it perfectly at 50% of the throttle, and I am running, as it slowly gets up here, about 2.6 miles per hour. So that's pretty good, guys. That is pretty good. This is a good cruising speed. if you don't have to go very far and get to your next spot, or you're not in a rush. So 50% at 2.6 miles per hour on my new Canoe Unlimited is pretty good, guys. One thing I do suggest, because the throttle cable connects here and it also connects back at the motor up top there, so it connects twice and they have these little tabs sticking out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put dielectric grease in the connection by the throttle itself, and probably heat shrink or tape this with electric tape around this connection and leave it connected all the time, so it's less chances of you bending a pin or whatever, or leave it connected at the motor. But I would leave it connected on one end or the other at all times, just as less times that you take that apart and put it back together, etc. So just some dielectric grease I suggest, and either heat shrink or put electrical tape around one of your sides of your connection. And same thing with the motor connections where it connects to the batteries, which you can see right there, that larger Anderson connection. Make sure you put dielectric grease on that. It just helps a better connect, for a better connection, helps to slide in and out a little bit easier, and you won't start getting a loose connection where that'll start burning up when you got it under load and all of a sudden you're catching on fire or your motor dies because it's lost connection. So just make sure you want to keep those connections clean, use dielectric grease and all that good jazz. But we are 5 minutes into it. I'll see you guys in 25 minutes. Also, for this testing, to be fair, I'm going into the wind, going against the wind, or have the wind to my back. So going into the wind, having the wind to my back, and also hitting calm water. So I'm hitting all three aspects that we're gonna have when we're out in the water, just not going one direction. I'm going back and forth, hitting calm areas like this, going back into the wind, putting the wind at my back. So it's changing anywhere from like at 50% right now, like 2.5 to like 2.67 miles per hour. So it's got a range depending which way I'm going. All right, guys, it's 10:29, so 30 minutes in. It's reading out 26.3 volts. It's showing 3 bars, and I'm sure if I let it sit here for a minute, it might even go back to 4 bars. So only dropped the bar right now, and that's running for half an hour at running for half an hour at 50% throttle, doing 2.5, 2.6 miles per hour. So in an hour, you're gonna be covering 2.5 miles. In a half an hour, you'll be covering half of that and still have a lot of your battery left. So I want to start this next test at 75% throttle for 30 minutes, and we're going to start it exactly at 10:30. All right, guys, 10:30. We're going to get this thing up to 75% throttle. Okay, we're at 75% throttle. Hopefully you guys can see that. And we're going to run it till 11 a.m. So we'll see you guys in 30 minutes again and see where we're at. So at 75% throttle, we were running 3.95, 3.98, 3.99, almost 4.02 miles per hour, because it's kind of calm area there. But going into the wind, I was getting 3.9. But you can see I reached up to 4.02 miles per hour. Now we're kind of turning here, going into the wind a little bit. But you could say 3.9 to 4 miles per hour at 75% throttle with this little motor. You can cover a lot of water in a half an hour, 15 minutes, or even a full hour and still have battery life left. That's quite a bit of coverage on a kayak, guys, when we are launching at our ramps and we know where we're gonna go fish, and it's effortless. Look, I can take my foot off the pedal, and because there's not an extreme amount of torque, it stays straight, it runs straight, and I don't have to keep my foot on that pedal at all times. So I can just kind of cruise here, come back to the pedal when I want to, give it a slight turn, and get back on the track where I want, and take my foot off and just kind of cruise and peruse and enjoy the scenery. So I just put my hand behind the seat, check the wiring, because that's where I have the battery, is right behind the seat, which I could probably show you guys here. But I checked the wiring to see, now that we've been running about 10 minutes, it's behind the seat there, and I just kind of have the night eyes tied back to my bar here for my Boondocks wheels. But I just felt the wiring, make sure it doesn't feel hot or anything, and it's nice and cool. So they got it, they got the gauge wire sized appropriately for this, and we'll see how it does when we go full speed and how long this thing runs. But I will say it's 75% throttle. The motor's not that loud, guys. It's when you're around that that 50%, 40% throttle, there is a pretty significant whine, hum, if that's what you want to call it. Once again, not a big deal, guys. For most of us, it's just one little annoyance that bothers me. I figure while I'm driving around here, I'm looking at Newport's website. So This way I get the pricing right for you guys. So right now, if you go on Newport, the NK180 Pro, I don't know if you can see this in the thing, but I'll tell you, it's $9.99 for the motor. You can get the bundle kit for another, right now it looks like it's on sale or whatnot, right? Can't see that, there's a line crossed through it. It looks like there is, for $738, which is a 24 volt, 50 amp hour Newport Vessel battery, the charger, and then the NK throttle mounting plate. So, $1,000 for the motor, $738 for the battery, the charger, and the throttle mounting plate. I use the Yak Attack one, which, you know, on the thing here, they've had one laying around. So let's say $1,800 plus tax and shipping and all that stuff. So still, for under $2,000, you get this motor. And I don't know if they even charge you shipping, but you're gonna have to pay tax. So let's say $1,850-ish for this motor. It's a great deal, guys. I'm having a blast with this right now. We got about another 13 minutes before this 30-minute 75% throttle test is done here, and I'm just running back and forth. All right, guys, it is 11 a.m. so we're gonna stop this now. Put our phone away, and on the throttle, which it may adjust, right now it's showing 2 bars, 26.2 volts with no throttle on it right now. It may go back up to 3 bars once it kind of settles in, but that's where we're at. We're at 2 bars. We've been running this now for 1 hour at 50%, at 75%, half an hour at 50, half an hour at 75%, showing 2 bars. Like I said, if it sits here for maybe a minute or so, it may go, you know, kind of bounce itself back up to 3 bars on it. I've noticed that the battery level does kind of bounce around, and this adjusts once you get some load off of it. But now we're gonna run this thing full throttle until it dies. Yep, see right there. Now I'm back to 3 bars. So we're at 3 bars on the battery. So that's pretty good, guys. I mean, that's just a 50 amp hour battery, and I've basically been running it for an hour at 50 and 75%. So now we're gonna run it full throttle until this thing dies. I will let you know how long it takes, and then we'll paddle back and we'll finish this video up. But I think it's a great thing here. So we are at 11:01. I'll see you guys whenever this dies. All right, just to show you here, 599, you know, so 600 watts. It ranges between 599 to 600. 100% on the throttle, 24.5 volt readout, and we are running here. Let's see, let's get in the camera area here. We are running 5.15, 5.16, 5.22. So we are running 5.17, 5.22. So 5.22. Kind of slowed down a bit. I don't know what's slowing me down. I'm kind of behind, jumping back and forth. So we're going to say 5.25 miles per hour, because I have hit that before. And you know, it all depends on your kayak, which model you have, how much weight you have on it. Like I said, I'm 210 and my kayak, so I think overall I'm probably moving around right now, I'm gonna guess about 340 to 350 pounds of gear with the motor, the battery, and what I have on here, and myself, the kayak. So I mean, going 5.25 miles per hour with this little tiny motor is freaking awesome, because with my Torqeedo I get like top speed of 6, and that's a 3 horsepower equivalent. Now yes, I am using a new canoe mount. I'm using a new canoe setup. So yes, you can't change the tilt. You can't change the tilt on it. So the motor's down a little bit. So I know with all the motors I have with the new canoe setup with the Quick Connect, I'm probably not getting true optimal speed out of these motors. But even if I had the Newport Vessel or the Torqeedo mount, motor mount, and I was able to trim the motor a little bit more flat, how much more am I gonna get? Maybe 1/10 of a mile per hour? It ain't gonna get that much more, guys, anyway. So that's why it never bothered me. And having the setup with the new canoe, be able to just take that pin out like you saw at the beginning of this video, makes it super simple. Yes, can I make a bracket and mount it on the new canoe and go back to the true motor mounts that you get with Newport and Torqeedo? Yes. Have the trim availability? Of course. But to me, that little bit more speed I'm going to get out of all these motors, it's really not worth it, guys. It really isn't, in my opinion. But yes, if you have a different kayak using the motor bracket, we're going to spin around here and go into the wind, you will probably get more speed than I get on the new Canoe Unlimited, the way I have it set up. So just keep that in mind, guys. This is killer though. I mean, doing the 5 miles per hour with this little motor is pretty badass, guys. I like it. So if you guys are on the market for a motor for your first motor for your kayak, if you can step up to the NK300, do it. But if you can't, because of, you know, finances or whatever, Sell your wife on the NK180. At 1,800 bucks, you're gonna have a fully motorized kayak and you're gonna have a blast. One thing you do have to set up on this when you set this up initially is you gotta go through the mode and change if you have a deep cycle battery or a lithium battery, etc. But it's very easy in your instructions, and once you set it up, it stays at that setting. Now, if you change your battery, obviously, if you go from a lithium to like a deep cycle, just remember to go back and change your mode to what battery you have. Just keep that in mind. Here's another pro with my setup, with the NuCanoe setup, and everybody else who has a NuCanoe with a Torqeedo knows this. Running at full throttle with the 1-foot steering, and you try to turn, it's like pushing down on the concrete. It's like you can do it, but it's hard. This running at full throttle, I can easily just feather the pedal and turn the thing. Running at full throttle with the Torqeedo and having all that power, and I'm sure I'd have the same issue with the NK300, it's not doable. You actually have to back off the throttle a little bit to make it easier to turn. But this, just simply hit the pedal like I normally do, whether I'm going 2 miles per hour or you're here at full throttle. It turns very easily, and there ain't much effort in my foot to turn it. It's about the same as if it was, like I said, I was running at half throttle. So it is a pro with the NuCanoe Unlimited setup, having this one, the NK180 over all the other bigger motors. And one thing too, we'll find out, because I haven't found out yet, when this battery gets low, like where it's almost gonna die, I wanna see if this little battery indicator is gonna flash, or there's gonna be a warning or something coming up on my screen saying, hey, your battery's almost dead. You either wanna slow down or turn it off so you don't completely kill the battery. That I'm curious about yet, guys. All right, guys, we are an hour in and nothing has changed. The wires are just slightly warm. That's normal. And nothing has changed on the graph, you know, on the throttle itself, showing like any sign of it dying anytime soon. So an hour in, so that means and sometimes with the wind to my back, I got 5.5 miles per hour with this. So I've covered 5 miles in an hour, and we're still going strong, guys. I hope it dies soon so I can end this review, but I'm gonna stay out here until it dies. I just hope it doesn't take 3 hours. But we are still running strong at an hour, guys. I am truly impressed. And now when I have this motor on here and I'm doing some fishing, now I know the range. So we got 2 hours in so far of running this battery at 50, 75, and 100%, and we're still moving strong. It's blown my mind. I'm truly impressed, guys. All right, guys, an hour and a half in, running at full speed. Sorry about the wind. My throttle is reading around 23.5 to 23.9 volts. So the voltage has finally starting to drop. But overall, I'm still running full speed around that 5 mile per hour point, depending which way, if I'm going into the wind or not. But an hour and a half in, guys, and we're still running full speed here. Full throttle. Haven't even stopped, and I have to use the potty too. All right, guys, at an hour and 45 minutes, I'm getting a beeping sound and it says low battery, and it's flashing. So you do get warning when your battery is low. I was curious about that, so we're still gonna run this till it dies. But we're at an hour and 45 minutes and it's starting to die. All right, guys, it's kind of like, you hear that? It's dying down, then it ramps back up. It's dying down, then it's ramping back up. We're basically at the end of the battery life, but we're gonna run it till it dies. We're still going along here. We're at an hour and 50 minutes. So 5 minutes after it started beeping, now we're showing true signs that we are going to be dead soon here. So now it's holding steady at that 300 watts and just beeping, but we're still moving. So even at the end of the battery life, it's still going to get you hopefully back to the ramp if you judge your battery calculation right. You know, so basically if you are running full throttle for an hour somewhere, just keep in mind that probably running full throttle back, it all depends on the conditions, how much weight you have on the kayak and your kayak size. But I would confidently feel safe on my NuCanoe running full throttle at 45 minutes, and I know I have enough battery life to get back and still be able to run that 50 and 75% for another 30 minutes of each time, like I did at the beginning of this video, and still be able to just put along the, along the shoreline and fish. But yeah, at least you know at the end of the battery, it just doesn't die without a lot of warning. And like I said, it's been holding it like this 300 watt usage, so it's probably protecting itself, giving you enough juice left to get back to where you need to get back to safely, hopefully. Just don't push these things so far and run an hour and a half full throttle somewhere and think you're gonna get back off this 50 amp hour battery. It just ain't gonna happen, guys. So we're creeping up on the 2-hour mark, and what I'm going to do at 2 hours, I'm going to stop even if this thing's still running, because it gives you enough information to know where it's at. And I also don't want to completely kill the battery, because I'm not sure if that's a bad thing, you know, being a monolithium battery specialist. But we're going to push this for 2 minutes. We got about 3 minutes left. Sorry, we're going to push this for 2 hours, and it's about 3 more minutes till it's at the 2-hour mark running at full throttle. I'm not going to change the throttle position, and just hopefully we can get to that 2-hour mark. To me, that is freaking cool as hell. All right, guys, we are at the 2-hour mark. Still flashing low battery. All right, that should be off there. Okay, so we're off, no annoying beep. But 2 hours, guys, look at all those marks. We're at 2 hours, and we ran this thing for full throttle. I'm impressed, because I know off my Torqeedo battery at 2 hours of full throttle, it's not going to run. Now, I know the Torqeedo battery is a smaller battery, that's why I carry 2. But you know, most of us, we don't run full throttle all day anyway. So I just ran this 50 amp hour battery for 3 hours. 2 hours at full throttle, 30 minutes at 75% throttle, and 30 minutes at 50. Wait, did I say that right? 2 hours at full throttle, 30 minutes at 75, and 30 minutes at 50% battery or throttle. So I got 3 hours out of this battery, and 2 hours of that was at full throttle. I'm truly impressed, guys. And one thing I want to say too, see my battery connection's kind of like off to the side. It's above like the water line. That's one thing you want to do, because you know, you just got exposed battery terminals inside that Anderson connection. Make sure you keep your main battery's connection out of the water. You don't want to leave that in the water. That connection is somewhat watertight, but sitting in water, especially salt water, that can turn into a major issue and a fire while you're on the water. So just make sure you keep that out of the water. You know, my water, I get a little bit of water in my tank well, but it's still above that line. Even if you take that connection and like tie wrap it to a handle and just keep it out of the water, because there's enough slack on the battery cable that they give you from Newport to be able to take that and kind of tie wrap it up out of the way. So that's it, guys. I mean, I am so impressed with this NK180 with the 50 amp hour 24 volt battery from Newport Vessel. It lasted a lot longer than I thought it would. And the top speed on this little 1.8 horsepower equivalent motor is impressive at 5 to 5.5, depending on the conditions, on the NuCanoe Unlimited, with most of my gear on here except for my fishing poles and an anchor and my catch board. So we're gonna say 15 pounds lighter than normal. If you are looking to purchase your first motor for your kayak, I would not look anywhere else but the Newport Vessel. And I'm not paid to say this. I bought this motor with my own money. It wasn't given to me to do this video or any of that crap. I paid for this motor because I was gonna buy it. Well, I did buy it for my wife. But after I've been using it the past, let's say we got 48 hours, 45 hours of using this overall, this motor I'm gonna use too as well. So just not sitting around for the few times my wife comes out. Now when my Torqeedo completely goes kaput, I don't know what I'm going to do, guys. Will I get the NK300? If I'm fishing tournaments, I may get the NK300 just to have a little bit more power. Will I get another Torqeedo? I don't know. But I think if I'm not fishing tournaments anymore, at that point, whenever my Torqeedo dies, I think for the price point, and I'm sure in, let's say, 5 years from now, this motor is going to get improved. It's good already, but I think they could quiet it down with some more insulation. I'm sure it's not extremely hard to do. I'd rather you add more weight to this motor and make it even quieter. You're gonna hit it out of the park. So I think I may get the NK180 in the future if I'm done with tournament fishing, because if I'm just coming out to fish and maybe I wanna cover, let's say, less than 10 miles for the day, I would be more than happy with the NK180 Pro from Newport Vessel for sure. So I wasted 3 hours of my time, so you guys are gonna have to test this. I would definitely buy this motor at $1,800 to get a motorized kayak, and just to have the luxury of having a motor on your kayak and be able to fish and have fun. I think you guys would truly enjoy it. So I am super impressed. I'm happy with this. I love this motor for sure. Just take care of your connections with some dielectric grease. Had a brain fart there. With dielectric grease, keep your connections out of the water and you won't have any problems with this. Even the Newport Vessel battery is I think IP67 rated or even IP65, so it's water resistant. It can take some, you know, water abuse and everything else. And if you do run it in salt a lot, just rinse it off, clean up your connections, make sure your battery connections and your throttle connections are good and tight and clean, and you won't have any problems, guys. Just simple maintenance like I do on my Torqeedo, and it will be problem free as long as you maintain it. And if you do have a problem, Newport will take care of you just like Torqeedo does. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys like this, and hope you guys like this video. I hope it helps you make a decision on what motor to get for your kayak, and I'll see you guys soon. So as always, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you on the water. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope it helped you guys. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, guys, see you soon.